So what happened on November 8, 1990?
Okay, that was a Thursday. And
Oh my gosh. Wait, are you like, you're not looking at any notes, right?
no.
It's just, okay.
Yeah, so well, I remember that was not a real exciting day for me because I had a bad back, and so I stayed home from work and just laid around. And we had just had in America, we just had midterm Senate and congressional elections on the 6th. Things were Desert Shield had started, but on August 3rd, Friday of that year. But then the war didn't start. The short war didn't start until Wednesday, January 16th, 91.
Wow. Okay, let's see. What were you doing on the day that President Obama was elected the first time?
Well, I remember it was a really rainy day in my area, but I voted, of course, and then went to work and I remember that night watching the election returns, right when the clock struck 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, which would have been 8 p.m. on the West Coast. The announcers, I mean, this will reveal my political affiliations. The announcers were acting like they couldn't wait to get those California returns and show that Obama won.
Right. Wow. Frank, okay.
One
What?
more. I'm
Yes,
sorry.
yes.
I
Yeah.
remember I visited my uncle because I was up in his area in West Jersey trying to find a place to take my lady friend, now wife, for her birthday, and I found a
Oh.
restaurant on a lakefront.
Oh my gosh. Okay, what would an event that, because the date that I gave you, the first one was my birth date. So obviously
Okay.
I was born in the States. I was born here in Malaysia. But what is, okay, maybe you can give me one event that would actually shock me and it's not actually known to the world that publicly.
You mean like an obscure news event or something?
Yes, yes,
What?
something like that.
Uh, could
Like it,
just go ahead.
like an event, or you found out about something that maybe the media has portrayed different thing, but you have found out, differently.
Okay. Well, are you talking about around when you were born or just anything?
Just anything.
Oh, okay. Well, there was I can I can say that there was this self-help guru, Morris Goodman, who on Tuesday, March 10th, 1981, he was almost killed when he crashed his private plane, and the doctors in the hospital said he'd just lay and be a paraplegic for the rest of his life. Turned out he walked out of the hospital before Christmas. And 2 days after you were born, November 10th, 1990, he got married.
Welcome to your Wordless podcast, the space where we redefine success, self-worth, and transformation. I am Nierras, the soul-centered architect of transformation, helping you unlock your highest potential and build a legacy beyond limits. Now, whether it is self-mastery, career breakthroughs, or wealth creation, this is where change begins. Now let's dive in.
Yes, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited.
Me too, me too. All right, Frank. Okay, now I'd like to take my guest a trip down memory lane. Can you share with us what was it like growing up as a Frank Healy?
Well, I first discovered my gift started developing when I was not quite 6 years old, and I was homesick from school for a week with this childhood illness, the chicken pox. Too sick to even be up playing with toys. And it just happened that my Uncle Billy down the street had given me a calendar for that year, 1966. So I amused myself by looking at each block of each date and picturing what would be on primetime TV that night and playing the song in my head for the show. So I realized by the end of that week, I had the whole year memorized. when Christmas was going to be a Sunday that year and my birthday was going to be a Saturday. And from that week on, for 59 years now, I'll be 65 in May, I just, as I experience my life, I'd make mental notes all day about what date it is, what this is happening on. So I never told anybody about it until I was 14 years old and wanted to be in a talent show for the last day of school in eighth grade. And the kids were really impressed with it, but I already had a reputation as a smart student, and they were real impressed. But the vice principal told me the show probably wouldn't be a good idea because some kids wouldn't appreciate it. So, but I still, I was determined to do something with it. And growing up, I had a few friends, but I think there was so much going on in my head that with the dates and facts and all that I was a little slow at learning social skills. So I didn't always know how to talk to people, and so some of the kids were pretty mean about that, and I was misunderstood. I mean, in seventh and eighth grade, it was rumored that I didn't even like girls because I was too shy to admit that I did, and which ones. So it's a mixed blessing, but at the same time, I got a lot of respect for being smart and having this memory.
Are you stuck in a job that you don't love, feeling like you're meant for more? It is not in your head, it is in your soul. I am Nierras, and I help high achievers like you break free from burnout, rewire self-doubt, and build a life aligned with purpose through coaching, hypnotherapy, and soul activation. Because let's face it, real wealth isn't just about money, it is about aligned and happy heart, mind, and soul. Now, remember, you are worthy and you are enough. Let's transform your life together. Visit www.thenierrasholisticlifestyle.com to begin. I am so curious, Frank. What would you do? So, say, if you could give us an example, like yesterday, a day to day basis, what's it like living as Frank Healy? What would you do on a day to day basis? I mean, with an emphasis on hitch.
Well, it's kind of like I am a licensed professional counselor, and for those of you who don't know what that is, it's very similar to a psychologist. So I counsel people with post-traumatic stress and depression, anxiety, and so part of the reason I went into this field is, with all the memories that I have, I not only remembered the incidents, but remembered how I felt during each incident. So it was
Yeah.
like, since I won't lose the memories, I could at least like to be able to let go of the feelings from the bad memories, like bad days at school and work and romantic breakups before I met my lovely wife and just all that stuff. So now I help people to cure themselves from the effects of bad memories, which is all.
Mm.
So I go in on a typical weekday, I'll counsel about 10 to 15 people. But during the pandemic, it was mostly by video, but now it's back to mostly in the office, and we just use video for emergencies, like if the car breaks down or something. But so I'll do that, and then I'll come home to my wife and do some quality time with her. That's her biggest love language, and so, but at the same time, it's become second nature at this point. My making mental notes of what date it is when these things are happening on. So in a lot of ways, I'm like anybody else. But sometimes, I'm sorry, I need a relief sometimes from thinking so much. So swimming in the ocean and in the bay and listening to music, and I also sing in my church and. Sometimes I'll sing karaoke in a bar restaurant. And so these kinds of things, like I really need these relievers to stop me from thinking so much.
Wow, I can only imagine what's it like being in your shoes. And as a third party looking in, Frank, how did you ever? Okay, I guess I want to go back to the feeling because every memory is like we relive it because and the effects are amplified because we feel it. Like every scent, when we go to a certain place, we remember, if we associate that place with a happy memory, then we feel good. If, passing by or meeting a friend on a certain day, the weather's different and then the vibe is like that, it brings up memories that maybe are not so pleasant. So, how did you deal with that on a personal level first?
Well, it's a combination of changing the way, like cognitive, changing the way I think about the memory. Like, well, I learned from this mistake, or with some bad memories, I learned that not everybody is deserving of respect, and I'll just write it off as insignificant, and so that helped too. And I learned sometimes it can. Now, this method, I figured it out on my own, but it's been popularized as the release technique, or the Sedona method in different circles. Focus on the feeling and then ask myself, do I want to hold on to this feeling or do I want to let it go? And then just relax out of it. Now, doing that is kind of the opposite of how you achieve most things in life. For most things, if you want to accomplish, you have to work hard. But with letting go of a feeling, it's similar to like letting yourself go to sleep at night. You don't try, you just relax and let it happen. And it got to be kind of a form of self-care. I decided I want to feel good and be happy and still have a good day, even if something not so great happened. So letting go of the feeling and not, and sometimes I like to use this metaphor, which I share with my clients. Imagine your brain is a hotel. So, and oftentimes we make the mistake of giving the people who love and care about us, they just get small rooms. And the people we want to impress or who are cause problems in our life, we give them the ballroom.
The suite.
So it's important to, and then I would imagine a bouncer coming into the hotel and throwing out all the people who don't belong there. And then an angel coming in and giving the good people bigger rooms and a free meal. So these are, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Nierras, your host of the Your Worthless podcast. Now, if these real raw stories hit home, don't wait. Please follow, like, and subscribe my Spotify and YouTube. For bite-sized inspirational reels, follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Don't wait. Your transformation starts today. Thank you, and bye for now. Yeah, I mean, this is something that I would say I can relate, because again, the association of the feeling is the very thing, especially after a romantic heartbreak, right?
Yeah.
Or you've been abused in the sense, like, or verbally abused, let's say at a workplace, right? Those people listening in, they might be in the corporate world, or just in a probably in a relationship that they want to escape, but are not they're not able to. So what can you give them advice for those people in those situations?
Well, I think it's if you use these techniques, I think for in those situations, I would recommend ongoing therapy, but right away I would recommend that, you even if you're in a real nasty situation, you don't have to dwell on it all day long. And like if you're in a job that's not so great, find something good about it, but still keep your resolve to look for something better. It's because even if people are right there in your life, you don't have to give them that much power over you. They don't have to affect your mood and how you feel. And I mean, it can be a lot of work if you're really in a bad situation. But well, and anyone who, I've canceled both men and women who are in abusive marital situations. And but they won't leave either because they were abused as children and think that's what love is, or maybe they stay for economic reasons. But it's really, you can still, you can still let the feelings go. And when you have a free moment, think of something more pleasant and just keep at it. So keep at it until something better happens. And for an example, 5 years ago this month, right when the pandemic was starting, I was dealing with some abusive bosses at a job that I'd held for 10 and a half years, but mostly of that time was with a better boss. And so the pandemic was starting, and I was soon to turn 60 years old, where it might have been harder to find a new job. Luckily, I mean, I started networking, and luckily I was able to make some connections with a place, so and started working there in June of 2020. As a bonus, I got there and discovered I knew about four of the therapists already from community events and stuff. And the building that we are in constantly brings me good memories because it's a converted house that's the same architectural design as the shore house I grew up in nearby Sea Isle City, New Jersey. So it's like, I mean, things can trigger bad memories, but they can trigger good memories too. And when something triggers a good memory and those feelings, just let it happen, let it flow.
Beautiful. So now we're meeting for the first time. To our listeners, we never met before. This is not scripted. So what do you do when you encounter someone new? Exactly.
Well, one thing I've always worked at, but I've always been pretty good at anyway, is not judging them. It's like so many people make immediate superficial judgments about somebody. Maybe you meet a young lady with purple hair and tattoos down one arm, and you might think she's probably on drugs. But I would think, oh, sounds like she might be a lot of fun to get to know and chat with. Or maybe a tall man with he's young but has very short hair, and somebody might decide he's probably in the military, and those people are also conceited. But I get to know people first, and I'd think, hey, maybe he has some interesting stories about his services if he is in the military. And so there was way back when even I was a little kid, there was the show The Curious Martian. It was all about a man who came down from Mars, and he didn't know anything about earthly life, but he was very curious. And the questions he'd ask people, I just think, I'm curious, so I want to know what this person's all about and be nice to them and maybe become a friend, you know. So I don't judge. I learn and find out. And even like if I meet somebody who's real quiet and non-sociable, to me, I immediately think mystery. Let's find out about them.
I love it. It means that you're coming into contact with these people with an open heart
Yes, that's
before, yeah, not placing any judgments on them based on their looks, because people often categorize others when they see certain appearances, and we have seen it played out not very well in the society, especially today. And I love the work that you do, Frank. So thank you. Thank you for sharing your message and for counseling people. And you mentioned you help people get through their tough moments, right? And
yes.
yeah. So what are the common themes that you help with?
Well, I think I do a lot with depression and anxiety, and often if there's, I mean, there can be an organic component where they also need medications, but I think in some dialectical behavioral therapy and cognitive behavioral therapy can help them in addition to the medicine. And some people just maybe they don't trust people because they've been abused a lot and don't have a lot of self-confidence. I I really like having people with low self-esteem, helping them build it up. Like I've had clients make comments when they start therapy, like that they're a waste of a person or they can't do anything, and I I don't buy into that at all. I usually say to them, like, well, one of the things we can do here in therapy is find out what you are good at. And maybe it's something you haven't discovered yet, or maybe you used to do but forgot about. And helping them develop their self-esteem. And it's really rewarding to see someone grow and develop, try new things, and feel better about themselves.
Yes, I deal with people who are stuck, and because it's either they're stuck because they have very low self-esteem, and also they feel worthless at times. So, and coincidentally, I mean, not really coincidentally, I named my podcast that because that was what I kept telling myself at least before 2 years, 7 years prior. So 5 years in, just developing and healing from my own experiences and difficulties as well. And I find it very therapeutic talking to people such as yourself and all of my guests. And I guess this flows nicely into my next question, Frank. Why, with your special gift, have you ever felt worthless, and how did you handle it?
Well, that's another thing that my special gift has helped me with. I'm sure we've all gone through periods, especially when we're growing up. Maybe you didn't make the school show or a team or something, and you feel worthless and everyone else can do stuff, but you're no good at anything. But my special gift was a buffer from my ever feeling that way. It's kind of thought, well, I still have this good memory, even if nothing else seems to be breaking. So that was good for that. I think it's, so I can only, well, I've come close to feeling like not good during lesser moments. I've had a lot of good moments too. It's just the theme of this show. We're emphasizing when you have troubles. It's always been like, well, at least I have this memory that no one else has. And well, they have discovered about 100 people who can do this, but even among them, the researchers have told me that I'm better than most of them. I come up with this stuff really quick with dates and
Wow.
memories. So
Really?
maybe,
Okay,
yeah,
if I could, okay, now
you can
I
ask me
felt
something if
I
you want about
exactly,
that.
exactly. So what happened on November 8th, 1990?
Okay, that was a Thursday. And
Oh my gosh. Wait, are you like, you're not looking at any notes, right?
no,
It's just okay.
yeah, well, I remember that was not a real exciting day for me because I had a bad back. And so I stayed home from work and just laid around. And we had just had, in America, we just had midterm Senate and congressional elections on the 6th. Things were, Desert Shield had started, but on August 3rd, Friday of that year. But then the short war didn't start until Wednesday, January 16th, 91.
Wow. Okay, let's see. What were you doing on the day that President Obama was elected the first time?
Well, I remember it was a really rainy day in my area, but I voted, of course, and then went to work and I remember that night watching the election returns, right when the clock struck 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, which would have been 8 p.m. on the West Coast. The announcers, I mean, this will reveal my political affiliations. The announcers were acting like they couldn't wait to get those California returns and show that Obama won.
Right. Wow. Right. Okay. Um,
Oh, and one
what?
more. I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Yes.
I remember
Yeah.
I visited my uncle because I was up in his area in West Jersey trying to find a place to take my lady friend, now wife, for her birthday, and I found a
Oh.
restaurant on a lakefront.
Oh my gosh. Okay, what would an event that, because the date that I gave you, the first one was my birth date. So
Oh,
obviously
okay.
I wasn't born in the States. I was born here in Malaysia. But what is okay, maybe you can give me one event that would actually shock me, and it's not it's not actually known to the world that publicly.
You mean like an obscure news event or something?
Yes,
And
yes,
what
something like that.
uh could
Like
and
a
just go ahead.
like an event, or you found out about something that maybe the media has portrayed different thing, but you have found out, differently.
Okay, well, are you talking about around when you were born or just anything?
Just anything.
Oh, okay. Well, there was I can I can say that there was this self-help guru, Morris Goodman, who on Tuesday, March 10th, 1981, he was almost killed when he crashed his private plane, and the doctors in the hospital said he'd just lay and be a paraplegic for the rest of his life. Turned out he walked out of the hospital before Christmas. And 2 days after you were born, November 10th, 1990, he got married.
So, Frank, do you read all of this, or you do read all of this and then you just memorize them, right? It's just automatic.
Yes, I read and memorize I mean, sure, I like to read fiction, like David Baldacci, because one of his characters, Amos Decker, is a man like with a memory like mine. So he's a police detective in his stories. But when I read about real history and news, I always want to know the date. Sometimes,
Yes.
if I'm watching a movie, I'll be looking up the actors and actresses' birth dates, or if I'm watching a ball game, the players' birth dates, and
And you'll, based on those dates, you'll actually imagine what were you doing
so imagine what I
that
was
day.
doing, since just about all of them were born in my lifetime. I figure
Wow.
I can connect it with what I was doing on a given day.
So when you said the first time you had it was not a very good day for you, it was a Thursday. Yes, it was a Thursday.
Yeah.
But at the time, because if you're in Eastern Standard, so I'm 20 hours ahead of you. So at the time, 1:40 hours, because I was, yeah, okay. I'm going a bit too detailed here, but that's impressive, Frank. I'm very impressed. So, okay, before we wrap up, I have a few more questions
Sure.
to ask you, Frank. So you meant there is a part in your profile that you were subject study at the University of California. What were they doing with you, actually?
Okay, it was Wednesday, February 2011. So I went there, and first of all, a group of about 8 people around the table interviewed me, shot a few dates. Well, first they had me write a number on the whiteboard, and then I turned, it was in back of me, and then turned down, they asked me a lot of questions. And at one point, this was Dr. McGaw, who runs the study. And at one point he said, by the way, he's been right about everything. And there's one of his assistants had a laptop and was looking to make sure I was right about everything. And then at the end, they asked me to, without looking back at the whiteboard, what number did I write? And well, I'm so date oriented. I didn't remember the whole entire number, but I remembered 1964 was part of it, because I thought of about 10 people I know who were born in 1964.
So you were connecting. That's how it worked.
Yeah, that's it. And an interesting thing that happened there was I mean, he asked me 2 dates, one that was way before I was born, December 17th, 1835. I said Thursday. Then he asked me March 12th, 2006. And I said, that was a Sunday. And I remember after church going to visit a friend in the town of Wildwood, New Jersey, 3 towns down from where I lived. And then he asked me, what was the difference between how you figured out the 1835 date and the 2006 date? And I said, uh, well, for the 1835 date, it was a calculation. I thought, okay, similar to 1859, 87. So the calendar will make up of those years. And then, but for the, but for the 2006 date, it was like time travel. Just, okay, I remembered the date. So I had some things, some events to connect it with. And then they did some routine.
You need to be studied. Your brain needs to be studied.
Well, I'll just say there are some other things going on that I'm not allowed to really talk about yet. But maybe
Of
if you have
course.
me back on the show in a year or so, I'll be able to talk about that.
Brilliant. I have some people coming back on the show for the next season, and I think I do want to keep in touch with you, Frank, and see what else we can discover with this extraordinary gift of yours. Like, I, up until today, I don't believe that there's actually people with this kind of gift, but I am floored right now. So thank you for proving me wrong.
Okay.
So I think we mentioned about this, but how does your memory affect you socially?
Well, I'd alluded to a little bit ago that it took me longer than most people to learn how to be sociable because when I'd meet people, so much was going on in my head that it was hard to focus on conversation. But but I've gotten over that now, and it's helped me in a positive way where some if I meet someone who doesn't know that I can do this, and then I encounter them a second time, I can impress them by how much I remember about them, and they'll be like, boy, this guy must really like me. He remembers so much.
That must have put you in an advantage
Yeah.
before. Okay, Frank, what are you working on currently?
Well, I just released a book. And like Happy Every Day just came out in January. And last month, Stoicism for Resilience, all about how to use Stoic philosophy to help yourself be happier and not stress out so much. Now, whereas a lot of people think Stoicism is like being a walking robot, you don't feel anything, but there's a lot more to it than that. And it's really a rich and good philosophy. And I'm trying to do 6 to 8 books. That's numbers 1 and 2 this year. And they're all short reads because that seems to be the theme these days. Since people are so busy, they don't have time to read a whole lot. So short reads are kind of the in thing that sells. And I'm looking at a book on relationship anxiety and a book on somatic therapy, sort of holistic, like working on your physical as well as mental health and how they interplay. So I
I love
have
that.
a lot of things. A lot of things are in the works.
Okay, so Frank, we're gonna pivot to a self-worth question. And there's no right or wrong answer to this. It is simply from the guests themselves. So, question for you, Frank. Spirituality can be deeply personal and diverse. Can you share how your spiritual journey has shaped your understanding of your existence and purpose?
Well, it's as I've said, when I was 6 years old, I started memorizing the dates. Well, when I was 16 years old, I kind of had a spiritual birth. It's like I had gone from being a self-absorbed teenager who always had to be the best at everything I did, beat everybody out, and suddenly I became like it was like mysticism. I read about it later. I felt a strong connection to everything, I and a strong compassion for everybody. Like a lot of people maybe only feel compassion when somebody's crying or got hurt or something, but I could just overhear a conversation of two people talking about everyday things and feel a strong compassion for them. And my Christian faith has aided in that too. I believe I reached an understanding that everybody, no matter what they're doing and how you might not understand what some people are doing, but everybody is doing the best thing they know to do to get their needs met. Now, the trick in life, spiritual trick, is to also, do your best to help others meet their needs. And kind of guided my life too. And that's probably what developed into where I don't judge people superficially. I just find when you understand everybody's doing the best thing they know how to do, that can create instant compassion and love.
What is your heart's greatest wish?
Well, my wife has struggled with some physical issues. She's had cancer twice in 14 and in 22, and
I am so
has
sorry.
rheumatoid arthritis. And I would like if they can find cures for all of that and we can live our golden years with her being healthy. And I have a lot. And I'd also like I think on a more global way too, I would like it to get where the world works for everybody, where everybody can have their needs and wants met, and everybody can contribute, but still have freedom. I mean, I don't want that to sound like it's bordering on communism, but it's more like, no, we all still have freedom, but then but to be able to live and be at our best and be able to not only everyone make a contribution, but everyone benefit and enjoy life too.
Do you have a mantra that you live by?
Love and be loved is my mantra. And a lot of times, like even with my clients and even people I've known personally, some people maybe who nobody pays any attention to, and I want to give them a good time, and that they've always have that experience in their past.
Because people remember how they make you feel,
That's
how
right.
you make them feel. Yeah. Is there anything that keeps you up at night, Frank, or do you sleep well?
Sometimes my wife gets mad about this because I sleep very well. Yeah. Yeah, I could, since I think it's because I've learned to just let go of troubles. Now, falling asleep comes easy for me. The only, only thing I need to do each day to get a good sleep that night is to expand out enough energy. Like I try and get at least 7,500 steps on my Fitbit each day. And in the summertime, swimming, and I have a Nordic track I use on rainy days if I'm home. And so it's try and expand enough physical and mental energy so when it's time to sleep, I'll conk right out.
If you could create a quote right now for you to leave to the audience listening, and the world as your legacy, what would it be?
You all have the potential for a good life.
So take the action.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, how can people reach out to you, Frank?
Well, I'm okay. Well, I have a website, Healy's Healing. Somebody pointed out at a book conference about a few years in 2012 that I have the perfect last name for a healer.
I know. I realized it too when I was reading your profile.
Yeah, so they can reach my website and also, and if you join my mailing list, and I won't bug you with too many things, the newsletter and prompts if I'm having a sale on any of my books. Uh, so they can do that. And I'm also okay with giving my email out, which is similar, Heal1 at msn.com. It's all lowercase, HEALYS. Then you repeat HEAL, then the number 1 at msn.com. Kept the same website for over 24 years now. I mean, same email for 24 years now because with all that I've been on and everything, it would be a lot of trouble to change it. And
Bad. All right. So, Frank, before we wrap up the episode today, any last message for our listeners?
okay, well, I think that everybody can have a purpose, even if you're like someone who doesn't seem to have talents. Maybe you might bring a smile to people, and you might just lend them a good ear. And I think sometimes these babies or kids who have handicapped and die young, their purpose might be to teach their family how to be more loving. So everybody, we can all contribute something. So don't never feel worthless. And if you do start
Yes.
feeling that, that's it.
That is a wrap on our inspiring episode today with Frank Healy. Thank you for your wisdom, Frank, and for your work and dedication to continue to uplift others around you. Now, for all of our listeners, this has been Your Worthless. Read that again, the juxtaposition of your very soul. Now, if you've ever felt worthless, remember you are not alone. Your soul chose to be here to matter. And for that reason alone, you are worthy. A huge thank you to you again, Frank, and to all of you for listening. Until next time, I am Nierras. Keep shining, keep growing, and always remember, you are worthy and you are enough. See you in the next episode. Thank you so
So
much,
it was a
Frank, for your
pleasure
time.
to be here.
Thank you. Likewise. Hi, Frank. How are you doing today?
I'm fine. It's a pleasure to be here.
Hello, everyone. We have Frank Healy here with us. Frank is a licensed professional counselor and life coach with an extraordinary gift, highly superior autobiographical memory, SAM. Frank remembers every day of his life since he was 6 years old, including the day of the week, the weather, personal experiences, and news events. Now, 64 years old, Frank has used his remarkable memory and insights to help countless individuals through his counseling and coaching practice. As an author, Frank has written over 20 books, sharing his wisdom and strategies for a healthier and more successful life. Now, some of his notable titles include Heal Your Memories, Change Your Life, Stress-Free Success, and Happy Every Day. Wow. Welcome to the show, Frank. Love this episode? Now, transformation doesn't end here. Head on to @holistic.lifestyle_with_Nick. That is on my Instagram. Or head on to my website, www.denignerras.holisticlifestyle.blog for more info on my coaching framework, which is the Worthy, Authentic, and Abundant Framework, digital guides, and my upcoming events such as retreats and master classes and workshops. Now, I also do intuitive readings where we get to check on your